almost like speed dating. It literally made me like I was like interviewing with different teams every single day for like, it's a numbers game. I think I messaged like 40 of them. 20 of them gave me interviews. I would have never thought I'd get into SpaceX internship off of Instagram. Like that's just Instagram's a pretty powerful tool. We're like Cruise 7 where we sent 4 astronauts to the International Space Station. And then we also supported the Psyche launch, which
Hi, Jorge. How are you?
I'm doing good, Felicia. It's good to see you again. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you again for doing this podcast. I'm really excited for this one because I've seen you grown, over the years. And the first time that we met at the physics lab to being a TA for a class and sharing our dreams and aspirations and kind of giving that push to each other for our individual careers. It's really great to see everything that you've achieved, and I'm so glad that you're here. Before we get started, can you just introduce yourself briefly so the audience has an idea of as to what to expect from the rest of the podcast?
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, thank you. It's awesome seeing you again. Especially like you mentioned, like we literally met in physics too as like students, and then we both worked as TAs for an engineer introduction to engineering, and like now we're seeing each other succeed in our careers. So for everyone who I haven't had the privilege of meeting yet, my name's Jorge Arturo Levario de la Garza. I just go by Jorge. I attend the University of Texas at Arlington, where I'm studying mechanical and biomedical engineering. And throughout these past few years, I've had the opportunity to do some internships at NASA, both at Kennedy Space Center, Johnson Space Center, and then with SpaceX as well, both in Hawthorne, where their headquarters are, as well as down in South Texas at Starbase. And I've had the opportunity to intern with Lockheed Martin as well. And I've had the opportunity to do a few other things, which I can definitely talk a little bit more about. And yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm excited to, meet your audience and, answer any questions they may have.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, like I'm already excited. That's a lot that you've achieved in all these years. I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, you initially started as a biomed student and then you switched to mechanical, or was it the other way around?
Yes, that's funny enough. I started out as a biomedical engineering student, that is correct. But then, I went to a conference for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers,
Mm-hmm.
and I started realizing that, a lot of biomedical engineering companies and as a field, they were giving a lot of the opportunities to mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. So I thought I'd study mechanical engineering as well, just because I wanted to have a broader perspective. Biomedical engineering is a great field, but mechanical engineering is a very diverse, very broad, very versatile field. So that was the reason why I decided to switch to mechanical. But I am going to minor in biomedical engineering since I have like literally like 2 classes left to finish it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a great field. It's a great field that I may consider getting a master's in as well. But yes, that is true. I did start out originally as biomedical, and then I did pivot over to mechanical, and it's kind of weird now being on the tail end of both of those careers. So
That's
yeah, what happens.
Was it the conference that you went to that kind of piqued your interest to switch or like to do mechanical engineering as well? Or like what exactly about the field got you, intrigued to actually like go ahead and actually like major in it?
Yeah, so going to the conference, I got to meet so many different people, and I got to like my passion has always been space for sure. Like I've been keeping up with what NASA's been working on since I started. I mean, I've been keeping up with it forever, but very more serious once I started college. Everything that NASA and SpaceX were working on is pretty publicly available, and it's pretty publicly seen. Every time they have like an important rocket launch or they do some important mission, it does get attention. And I wanted to just increase my chances of being able to be a part of that. And, I thought, you know, mechanical engineering is going to give me the tools that I need to learn the skills that I need to be able to be a better candidate for the space industry and also in general, just be an overall better engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason. And, meeting people at the conference, I met people that worked like in aerospace and robotics and, the medical industry, all kinds of different industries. And, one thing a lot of them had in common is that they were mechanical engineers. And that's the reason why I really thought, this is a career that I really do need get very involved with. So that's why I'm like I mentioned, I've been taking mechanical engineering classes the past like 3, 4 years, and it feels good now to finally be on the tail end of it. But yeah, that's kind of what made me really push for doing mechanical engineering as well as biomedical engineering.
That's amazing. So I guess networking was a big part of like, choosing the major because you got to meet people from different walks of life and what they're doing and you kind of saw you could actually choose that career path. So that's amazing. You earlier mentioned that you've done internships at NASA, SpaceX, and other great companies, right? And I see it all the time on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and like, I always hype you up, like it makes me so happy. How did you land up those internships? Like, what was the starting point? Or like, was that was did destiny play a role in that? And doing those internships, what was your like experience like, and what were like some of the biggest learnings from getting those jobs?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that. A lot of these internships, I think the first thing really is just to apply because I feel like a lot of people don't even apply. But I started at Lockheed because UT Arlington has the university we went to has the college work experience program.
Hmm.
So through that, you're essentially putting yourself like in a smaller pool of candidates. So instead of competing with like 1,000 people applying online, you're competing with like maybe like I mean I don't know how big the pool is, but you're competing with just the students at UT Arlington. So it increases like mathematically, it increases your odds significantly. So I got into Lockheed. I stayed there. I supported the high mobility artillery rocket system, which is basically just like a wheeled tanker. I supported that program for about 6 months, but then it's funny because on LinkedIn I saw they had a post announcement for a NASA internship opening, and I read the description and I actually met all the qualifications. I'm also really heavily involved with or at the time, I used to be really heavily involved with the UT Arlington's rover team. Like I served as chief mechanical officer, and that definitely helped me a lot. I served as like the mechanical arm lead, and through that, I really had the opportunity to learn a lot of skills like CADing, computer aided design. I learned a lot about designing. I learned about a lot about like how to build stuff, how to 3D print, how to solder, how wiring, how to read all these different drawings and schematics. So through all that, I was a great candidate, and I sent the person who posted that on LinkedIn. I sent them he literally said, just send me your resume and your portfolio in a private message if you're interested. And I did that literally like at midnight when I saw it. I did it right away. This was on a Saturday night because like when you're studying in the library for like 13 hours for like one exam,
Yeah.
and then you're like tired and burned out. And I saw it, and I privately messaged him all my information, like my resume, my portfolio, which I think definitely helped me stand out. And then 2 days later, Monday morning, right after that exam that I took for heat transfer, I literally had an email that said like, "Hey, you've been selected for a NASA interview." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Didn't think much of it. I saw it was a group interview, which was really crazy because I'd never done a group interview. Like they're interviewing 10 candidates at once, and they had like I think they interviewed like 40 people. And
Wow.
that's crazy to think that like they only hired like two people out of those 40. And I never thought I'd be one of those two people. But I really had to do my research on how do group interviews work, how do you stand out with a bunch of people that are also really qualified candidates for a job. And I did my research on that, and had the group interview. They asked some pretty crazy exotic questions like how many phones can you stack from the ground to the ceiling, like how many things can you do with a paperclip. Explain to us what we're experts in. Explain to us what we do in like 90 seconds with two other random people on this call, make a team and do a presentation, and y'all have like 5 minutes and things like that. Very, very Wild West, I guess. So I did my first internship at NASA's Johnson Space Center during the spring 22 semester. And then one of the things that I took the initiative on is because NASA has two different, well, they have multiple internship types, but the two that I was a part of are the one that I was a part of at Johnson Space Center in Houston is OSTEM, and then the one that I'm a part of now is Pathways. So OSTEM, the big difference is that OSTEM does not give you the full-time offer. It doesn't guarantee you another internship. It's like you're one and done. And then the Pathways, which is like a much more selective one, gives you like the civil servant badge, and it gives you pretty much like you're a full-time NASA engineer. just like you're going to convert full time. So the big difference between both programs. So I started out as an OSTEM intern, which is a great way if you want to become a pathways intern later on. But so one of the things I did was I knew like, like I'm not gonna get rehired by this team unless I like obviously there's exceptions for every team, like based on performance and headcount and budgeting and all that. Um, I like I kid you not, I probably on like because we use Teams, a lot of companies use Teams. I Teams message probably like over 40 like hiring managers, like, hey, can I join your team for the summer? Here's my resume, here's my portfolio. Very cold approach.
Mhm.
But what ended up like, hey, like I know your team does X, Y, and Z. Um, can I like schedule 30 minutes of your time to talk about my interests and see if my skill set's a good fit for your team? And what this really made me do is it's almost like speed dating. It literally made me like I was like interviewing with different teams every single day for like I think like 3 weeks straight. And like it's crazy to think about that. I was like there were teams where I like didn't have any chance of being on because they were like, either like software or electrical, which is not my skill set. It's not my background. I'm not the best fit candidate for that, understandably. Um, but what this really taught me was just how to get over like things like rejection and all that very quickly. How to put myself out there because definitely like going around literally like it literally felt like I was walking around NASA going into hiring managers' offices and literally like asking them for a job. And if they said no, I went to the person literally next door to them and asked them the same question. And it really definitely built my confidence up. So, it's a numbers game. I think I messaged like 40 of them. 20 of them gave me interviews. Of those 20, two of them gave me offers. So I actually even had a choice. Um, and at the end of it. And so that's how I transitioned over to my summer internship, joining the propulsion systems team. So I was on the lithium ion battery team the spring. In the summer of 2022, I was on the propulsion systems team. And then through that, so I did that. So I had two NASA Johnson OSTEM internships under my belt. And then I remember school started at UTA the following fall 2022 semester. And literally on the first day of school, I saw on Instagram of all places, I saw SpaceX is hiring an intern for the fall. Um, and it was too enticing not to apply. So I did the same approach, like message this person, same approach, like DM them, directly message them, sent them my resume, my portfolio. And, it's funny enough, at first they didn't give me the offer because it landed in a spam mail. But that was not fair to me because I had already asked him, like, hey, did you get my email? And he said, yes, I did get your email. So I was able to push back on that a little bit, and he did end up interviewing me. And then when he interviewed me, like I got the offer. So basically, like not taking no for an answer, being persistent, obviously, like within reason, because that's like it wasn't my fault that it landed in your spam mail after you told me that you received it. So I ended up getting the offer, and I had to like literally, I was 5 weeks into the school semester during the fall 2022, and like from one day to the next, I literally just like I had to drop all my classes, and I moved to California and did an internship at SpaceX in Hawthorne in their headquarters. And then when I was in Hawthorne, the team I was on, like they're not hiring full time. So the same initiative I took at NASA, messaged like 40 managers. I had them all on a spreadsheet, their first names, their last names, their emails, what team they're on. And I even had like a column like how did the conversation go? Um, and like, like what was the best way to reach out to them, whether it was LinkedIn or their phone number or through email. Um, Same approach. Long story short, I left the internship. I still didn't have an offer. So, but I had all their contacts saved. I had how their conversation went and how to reach out to them. So one of the things I did was literally on like the first Wednesday of January, I messaged, I emailed all of them and asked them like, hey, like, we spoke, we met in person on this day and we had this conversation and, my name's Jorge. And sent that message out to like 30 people. And I think I got an offer letter that like same day later on in the evening. So like no one like no the person who gave me the offer didn't even reach out to me. HR reached out to me with the offer from that person. So again, it was just like a numbers game. Like if you're messaging if you're asking so many people for a job, like one of them is eventually going to give them to you. So then I did my internship at Starbase this past summer, 2023. It was fun, learned a lot, especially because all the work that's really happening with the Starship program that's like, going to send humanity to Mars and all that. It's really happening at Starbase. So that was definitely like a good, crazy experience to learn from. And then through all that, I had the opportunity, of course, like I had like every semester I had been applying to the NASA's Pathways program. I got rejected like 3 times in a row, and their applications are very it's not like they're always open. They're open like 2 weeks out of the whole year. So it's like if you get rejected, you have to wait 6 months until you can apply again.
Mhm.
So it's always like preparing for the application definitely does matter. So like I said, I got rejected 3 times in a row. I had to wait like a year and almost 2 years until I finally got into the program. And I remember when we got hired at orientation, they told us like, there's only 20 pathways interns for this like spring 2020, or excuse me, fall 2023 class. Like there was only 20 of y'all. We had like 8,652 applicants,
Wow.
and there's only 20 of y'all. So like, they were telling us to like, make sure you appreciate the opportunity. Congrats on getting the offer. But don't take anything for granted. But yeah, like I think building up all the experiences I had at SpaceX and with being an OSM intern at NASA's Johnson Space Center helped me finally get into the Pathways program at Kennedy Space Center, which is what I just worked on now. I supported the launch operations team, and I was able to support like different SpaceX launches, like, some of the bigger launches. The more important launches were like Cruise 7, where we sent 4 astronauts to the International Space Station. And then we also supported the Psyche launch, which essentially sent a, a spacecraft that's going to explore a metallic asteroid in our solar system, and it's going to get there in 2029. So it's pretty cool to see it launch. Like we were in the launch control center and everything. But yeah, that's a little bit about kind of how I got my internships. I would definitely say just putting yourself out there and then getting involved in organizations such as, like, in my case, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, SHPE, and then the rover team, having the technical experience and taking on leadership positions in both. Like I know you did that as well with like the Nepal Student Association. Taking on, there's a difference between being a part of an organization and like being the president or being like an officer or being someone that's adding value.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much how, in a nutshell, I kind of had those opportunities that I've had so far.
Awesome. That sounds so cool. Like some of the stuff, it sounds like, it's taken straight out of like like a sci-fi movie. That's really, really cool. And I like how you mentioned about all the cold calls you made and like, just directly messaging people. A lot of people hesitate to do that. I do that a lot as well, like as a part of my job and even before, like joining the workforce. Like I always like wanted to like like reach out to people if I thought I would want to seek the opportunity. But I mean, kudos to you, you've done so much. um and you mentioned a thing about you saw something on Instagram and you reached out to that person. A lot of people, I don't think it doesn't even like occur to them that, oh, I could use Instagram to forward my career. And like the example you gave him, I mean, that's like I think a great example like people can learn from, to use social media for like for better. Having said that, even your LinkedIn game, I mean, you're like a star on LinkedIn. I see you all the time. You post so much, and it's just great to see all that. How is it important for you to like post on LinkedIn, or like how did you manage to like create like a profile or almost like a brand for yourself on LinkedIn, right? How did you do that, or how important is that to you?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, I would have never thought I'd get into SpaceX internship off of Instagram. Like that's just Instagram's a pretty powerful tool.
Yeah.
Obviously, it kind of over time, like it wasn't my initial intention to like have it be some kind of professional tool, but Instagram's helped me a lot. It's helped me meet some pretty incredible people and get some pretty incredible opportunities. So, it's a tool for sure, and definitely like knowing how to harness it will help you go a long way. So is LinkedIn as well. Like LinkedIn's helped me a lot, over time, just really like when I got my first NASA internship, I actually had a like one of the reasons why that like NASA posting even landed on my LinkedIn feed was because I follow so many NASA people on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And through that, well, it's like you follow like what you follow is what you're feeding yourself the information. So like, okay, you follow X amount of NASA people, you're gonna get more and more NASA stuff pop up on your newsfeed. So that's exactly what happened. And it was super cool that that's how it worked out. But over time, really just building the brand. I really haven't seen too much of a brand. It's more so over time, just putting myself out there. Like giving talks and all that. Like I've had the opportunity to give talks, like internationally as well. Like I was in London earlier this year, and I had the opportunity to give a talk at an X3 space conference over there. And saying yes to those opportunities instead of shying away from them. And then like I had the opportunity to give a talk virtually to like St. Joseph's College in India, and then I gave it like a talk in Peru as well for the World Space Week. And I've given talks like in Mexico, but that one's a little bit easier because that's where that's like I spent part of my life there. And like like just saying yes to every opportunity overall has like really helped. And then like even like I've had the privilege of giving talks in like different organizations at UTA, like for Engineering Student Council, for AIAA, for like the aerospace group, for like the Latin American student organization, for the biomedical student organization. I've had the opportunity to give all those talks, and I'll just always saying yes to those opportunities because it helps put yourself out there, and like people, someone in that audience is gonna remember something very specific about what you said, and it's gonna stick with them forever.
Yeah.
So just always giving those opportunities, always just putting myself out there, I think definitely has helped me go a long way. And like whenever on LinkedIn, for example, just when you reach out to enough people, then people start reaching out back to you. First when I first started on LinkedIn, I wasn't like it wasn't my intention to really like have it be this platform that's going to change my life. But overall, like just like posting something meaningful, like I feel like I probably wouldn't post about a class project, but like if you feel like you did something that was pretty valuable, like you completed an internship, or you helped lead a very, very, very complex event, or something that's outside the norms of just like, okay, I did my homework. I think that's worth like giving yourself the opportunity to share that with other people, because like I said, you don't know who's seeing your content. And
Yeah.
over time, eventually like people like have recognized like I know I met some of the SpaceX interns during the summer, and they're like, oh, like, are you Jorge from LinkedIn? And I was like, yes, I'm Jorge from LinkedIn, in real, this is Jorge in real life. Yeah, so it's like it's really like it's a platform that's definitely helped me a lot, but it all starts with like saying yes to all opportunities, because if I had said no to opportunity A, opportunity B, C, and D wouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
For saying yes to those like it's scary. Like I tell you, like when I showed up to London and I was asked to give a talk about my story and my career to like a bunch of people I've never met. Like I'm the only American there. Um, I was the only like Western world person at that conference, and like I was expected to give a talk to a bunch of people who like I guess they've heard about me, but don't really know me. But again, it all started because they reached out to me, and I was accepting of it. I was like, yeah, sure, of course. Like I gave a talk to them virtually first, but to give a talk in person all the way over there was pretty remarkable. And it's even helped me as well with like SHP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. They've helped me a long way as well, and then gave me the opportunity to go to the White House earlier this year and go like
I saw those
talk
pictures.
about,
Like, wow.
yeah, it was awesome, and go talk about all the things that the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers is working on in order to like, like help eliminate like, like gender equity, all that stuff, diversity, equity, inclusion, females in STEM in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. But yeah, it all started with LinkedIn. It all started with like put yourself out there, and like it's like you're giving yourself visibility. And I think that really goes a long way. So yeah, like definitely like if you anything you think is outside, and I know you've done a lot too, and I know like I've seen everything you've done, like you give talks, like literally, and you're like I've seen it, and it's like you're literally like the youngest person in the room, and you're like leading, you're giving the talks and everything. So I know like I know you've been through it as well. So it's like yeah, like that's something that you share because not everyone's doing that, and it adds so much value if you do it and you use the platform properly.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Your story is really, really inspiring, whatever you've mentioned. And sounds like, you really work hard, you're smart, and it's just like a mixture of all those things. Um, I do want to ask one last question. So for everyone who's listening this, what advice would you want to give to people who are interested in joining, the same field as you, like be a mechanical engineer, or like, like are trying to get an internship at NASA or SpaceX, or like make their LinkedIn game strong, or just be someone who people would actually like look up to.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely like I know it sounds so generic, but I'll be a little bit more specific. But putting yourself out there, but like how do you do that? You do that by do something that like is outside of the checkbox of what you're required to do. Like what do you like you go to UT Arlington or you go to any university, it's like you're required to do your homework, get your good grades, and go home. But if that's all you do, and you're gonna get a degree out of that eventually, what else did you do? So it's like everything in that what else, like for me, it's almost mandatory. Like I can't just only go to school and only check off the boxes that I did my homework. Like I have to really, really like put myself out there and really like what am I missing? Like I'm not perfect. There's always something that I can improve myself on academically, professionally, personally. So having the mindset of just consistent improvement, like never ever just be satisfied. Okay, I'm here, I've landed here, I'm good. Like, no, like it should always be like, what's next?
Mm,
What's the next thing I haven't done? Like, I may be amazing at A, B, C, and D, but like at E, this is holding me back and limiting me significantly. So let me start working on E and let me prioritize E until I can bring it up to levels A, B, C, and D. So putting yourself out there, work on your weaknesses, prioritize working on those weaknesses. More than anything, like when also you're putting yourself out there, being more specific, get involved in student organizations. Like if I had not get involved in the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, I would have missed out on so many opportunities. And same thing with the rover team. Like I got involved with the rover team, and I just want to make it very clear that I don't join these organizations with the mindset like, okay, I'm a new person now. I'm going to be the president eventually. No, I join with the mindset that like I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. There's people in here that know so many things I don't know. I'm here to learn from them, and they're going to teach me. And my job is really just do all the little things correctly, like show up, be consistent. Like if people need help with like little things, like maybe they need help with cleaning up after the events, or they need rides or whatever. Like be that person that's doing all those things that aren't going to be necessarily on checking the box on your resume. Um, and over time, like that gave me the opportunity to be the president of SHPE at UT Arlington and even serve like regionally and nationally as well. And like with the rover team, like I wouldn't say I was probably the most like technically savvy person on that team, but I got the opportunity to be like the chief engineer. And that was just because of the fact that my body of work of like at least he's gonna be here. Like he's not just gonna disappear from the team without a trace. So being able to being being able to like get involved, but not just like you show up to an organization, like you shouldn't have the mindset that you're there to be like the president or this is a failure. No, it should be the mindset like you're there to learn. And in learning you're already winning, and failing you're already winning because you're learning how things do not are not supposed to be done. So you're learning through failure, and you're learning through experience, and that in itself is so valuable. So how else do you put yourself out there? So join student orgs, stay involved, and don't just join them. Like stay in the org. Like it's better to like join one or two orgs and be super involved than join like 20 organizations and like you're like not attending half of them. And so it's better to just like focus in on one or two, get certifications in your field. Like I know for me, I had University of Texas at Arlington, where we went to school, offers computer aided design certifications. So that helped me like, and it's free. Like outside of school, you have to pay money for that. You have to pay 2,000 like $200 just to take the test. You know, if you fail it, you don't get refunded, and you have to pay extra money. Like, let me install all the softwares, and you know, and it's pretty heavy memory eating softwares, and so UTA offers that for free. So like if you just get certified on something as simple as like SolidWorks, which I know I say it's simple. I think it's simple. I think it's not super difficult to learn, especially if you're a mechanical engineer. And obviously, like this applies to any field. Like if you're computer science, like I'm sure there's certifications you can gain in like computer science courses or computer science, like programming different languages and all that. If just you having a certification already puts you in like a very small pool of people. So, you know, like I think only like 8% of SolidWorks users even have like a first level certification. And it's crazy to me. I'm like, there's probably so many people that could pass that exam, but
Mhm.
only 8% of them are like, you're basically telling an employer, because everyone on their resume is going to say like, you know, like I'm solid, like I have experience in SolidWorks or any other computer aided design software like Autodesk, Inventor, Creo, Katia, etc. But what does that mean? What does it mean you have experience? Having a certification is okay, so you know how to do X, Y, and Z already because that certification proves you can do it. So
Yeah.
getting a certification, getting involved in the student organizations offered at like your university, once you do all that, having a portfolio. So, you know, not just having a resume on paper, but a portfolio, you're able to take pictures of your work and you're able to like post about it, or you're able to like share with the recruiter, like, hey, like, I'm a very detail oriented person. Here's why. And then you show them your portfolio. That has so much value because that's a lot of work and not everyone's going to do that amount of work. So having a portfolio definitely has helped me get my opportunities. I remember when I started at Lockheed, it's funny because they didn't ask me for my portfolio, but it's like I gave them something that they weren't asking for, but like they welcomed it so much. So like when I interviewed with them, I was like, hey, like thanks for considering me for the interview. To give more insight about myself, here's a portfolio. I gave that portfolio, and it's funny. It's just one of the things. It's like I gave them something that they did not know that they needed, um, but it helped me. And when I started there, they're like, hey, like my boss was like, can you print out 10 of those and give it to each person on this team so they can know a little bit more about you? So again, portfolio, put yourself out there, or excuse me, portfolio, join student organizations, get professional certifications in your field. And you know, when you combine all these things, you're a very qualified candidate to then go apply for NASA, apply for SpaceX, apply for Lockheed, apply for any of these like big aerospace companies. Um, and you know, like the more people you follow that are in these industries, the more information you're gonna get. Like my a lot of my positions have been direct hire because I applied on LinkedIn, and like I didn't go on the website and applied where thousands of people applied. It's just like I applied in a smaller pool of candidates because I follow people, and when the opportunity was there, I was already ready. The portfolio wasn't being put together; it was already built, and I just copy and pasted it. And then same thing with like the college work experience program. I was part of a smaller pool of candidates with for Lockheed, and then for SpaceX, same thing. Like, how many people actually took that Instagram uh, message serious? You know, I took it so serious that it got me a whole 2 internships at SpaceX. So like again, like just like those opportunities, like I said, it's not like for none of them I applied online and was like filtered through like thousands of people. For all of them, it's like I was filtered out of like maybe a handful of people, and I was still very qualified amongst those other qualified people. But um, this is all a byproduct of putting myself in the right position. Like I follow all these amazing accounts and all that, that are providing all this useful information. So all that falls under the umbrella, as I mentioned earlier, of just putting yourself out there. So yeah, that's like my nutshell advice. Putting
Oh,
yourself out there, but the specifics of how to actually do that. So yeah.
well, that's amazing. I've sat through so many quote unquote career counseling sessions. Like even at UTA and other sessions, and they've never really talked so much about certifications and actually the nitty-gritty of preparing yourself for, like to apply for an interview or for a job. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Jorge, for being here today, for sharing your story. It's really, really inspiring. I'm again like whatever you post on LinkedIn is like has already inspired me so much, but this podcast, like has really, helped me like see through all that you've been through and inspired me even more. And hopefully people who are listening to this, they can learn a whole bunch from what you've said. And thank you very much. Do you have any like other questions or anything else you want to share briefly?
Yeah, no, first off, Felicia, like all the work you're doing is amazing. Like I keep up with you as well on LinkedIn and like on Instagram and everything. I know like you're putting yourself out there, especially like you're coming here all the way from Nepal, and like I said, like I've seen you like giving talks and everything, giving like conferences and all that, and like I literally like I see you and I'm like she's probably the youngest person in that room, but like she doesn't care. Like she's still like killing it and everything. So like it's super cool everything you're doing. So like I do very much appreciate the opportunity that you consider me to be a part of your podcast, and like I hope the people like listening to this and viewing this are getting any kind of value out of this. But yeah, no, thank you so much to like for the opportunity to speak with you and your audience. And it's like I said, it's been such a long time that like we've actually had the opportunity to actually like talk to each other. So like it's remarkable to see everything you've done like since we literally met, being like physics two students like so many years ago. So it's super cool to see everything you're working on now. So yeah, keep doing it. Like super proud of you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you very much, Jorge. And that is it for this one. See y'all in the next podcast.
Okay. See y'all.
Bye.